Hi, I'm Christine Brookins, and this is Connecting Our Community. Today, I am at Cookie Ice Cream in Kennedy Township, McKees Rocks, and I'm getting my first taste of my delicious latte now.
The suspense is killing me.
Oh, delish.
Nice,
Thank
right?
you, thank you. So I'm here today with Connie Feda, and you are the co-founder of Cookie Ice Cream. Mm-hmm. So first, let's start with what is Cookie Ice Cream, and I mean just as the business storefront that folks would find. What will people find here?
They will find the best ice cream in Pittsburgh. Hands down, prove me wrong. Everything's made in small batches. It's artisanal ice cream. It's made in a gelato machine, but it has the fat of ice cream. So it's got the best of all worlds. And my son is a little weird genius. So like right now in the case, you would find roasted garlic.
Interesting.
Yes, horseradish is coming out. Every week or so we have a savory, bizarre twist on ice cream, and the rest are the flavors you've come to love and enjoy, like butter pecan and chocolate and the like. And then we make cookies, most of them based on my mom's recipes. When I was a kid growing up, there were 5 of us in a little Navy family, and that was, that's what they did in those days. They made cookies. So people come in and they say, these are the best cookies I've ever had. And I'm thinking, that's just weird because it's just a cookie. But now I understand it's not just a cookie. It was just a cookie to me, but to the rest of the world, it's kind of amazing. So they are stupid big and full of butter and fantastic.
And let's not forget.
Oh, we have coffee. And the coffee is locally roasted in the South Hills. It's 19 Coffee Company. They're also big disability supporters, which I greatly appreciate. And I found that out after I fell in love with the coffee, which made it an even super better partnership. And we only have the espresso machine because we do the day program, which means I have to get here early and I need coffee. And if I'm going to have coffee, I'm going to have good coffee. So I learned how to make good coffee.
I love it. I love it. So, the folks that come to Kennedy Township, come to your storefront, are going to find delicious ice cream, delicious cookies, and great coffee.
So we customize ice cream sandwiches. That's our shtick, is the ice cream sandwich. Right, pick a cookie, pick a cookie.
Pick an ice cream.
Pick an ice cream, pick an ice cream, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm looking forward to, I have had your product before, but I'm looking forward to having more before I leave here today. So let's talk a little bit about not just the business that you are, but why you developed this business and how it's different from other businesses. So I guess before we can talk about the why, we really have to talk about what is different about Cookie Ice Cream than just your regular ice cream shop. What will we find different here?
Product aside, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say that you will find this to be almost like your grandmother's kitchen, only a little bit bigger. It's really friendly. It's warm in here. People come and sit and chat, and we have board games, and they sit and play games, and it's more of a community hub. But we focused on inclusion before we ever opened. We knew that was, we knew we wanted a third space, right? We wanted some place where literally anyone could come in and just be who they are, and it's okay. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that people say to us, we just love it here, because it's usually because they feel welcome. And not that other ice cream shops don't do that, but we don't care how long you stay,
I do. I like that it is so inclusive. So let's talk about why that is. And going back a little bit, have you always worked in ice cream and cookies?
So when I was in college, I worked at Baskin-Robbins.
Okay.
And then I eventually became the manager of that Baskin-Robbins. And then Parkway Center Mall closed down, so thank goodness I didn't buy that Baskin-Robbins. But when my son, who was in tech, and he was getting really burned out, he was in Wisconsin, and he said, what's the best job you ever had? Immediately, it was the ice cream store. It was always the ice cream store. When I was in my 30s, my husband and I at the time toyed around with the idea of opening up an ice cream store, and then realized we were crazy. But when my son, who was then 30, even though I was in my late 50s, said, well, I could do that boondoggle with you, that's, it became a reality again. So, and we didn't know, we'd never made ice cream. At Baskin-Robbins, it comes in tubs, right? So we went to Penn State and we learned how to make ice cream. And we met Plumman, the guy who sold us this giant gelato machine. And everybody else in this place is looking at all these machines. Every machine company is there, right? The gelato machine, everyone's watching him make this, pouring this 2 gallons worth of ice cream, and they're going, he'd be making ice cream all day, every day. And they're all going, yeah, we're not interested in that. And Addis and I are looking at each other going, that looks great.
Yes.
That's what we want to do, you know? So even our window that we built up there with the front is just so that if he's making ice cream, you can watch him, because it's fascinating.
Well, I like to know what I'm eating anyhow,
Yeah.
but it's also something that I don't do at home. And I imagine folks come in here just to see that happening as well.
Oh, you should see our birthday parties. That's the most fun thing. The birthday kid designs a flavor. They pick
fun.
the color, they pick the flavor, they pick the inclusions, they pick the name. We just had a party on Saturday, and it's called Unicorn, which describes nothing, but it's
It did to that kid.
but it did to that kid. But it turned out to be there's gummy bears in it and strawberry base with maraschino cherries, and I guarantee you it'll be delicious.
Interesting.
It'll be delicious. Kids come up with the craziest stuff, but they go back and they learn how to do it, and they scoop it out of the machine, and it's really fun.
That is fun.
And that's something you don't forget, you know.
Yes, you don't experience that every day. You don't experience that in other places. So
Yeah.
that is
So
super
there's a
fun.
lot about us that makes us us, you know.
So let's talk about the inclusion.
Okay.
You're inclusive of everyone, otherwise it's not inclusion.
Right.
But specifically, this came around your daughter, Hannah. So,
Right.
so tell me about Hannah and how she kind of inspired this.
So Hannah's always been a little bit entrepreneurial, right? So from the time she was a little kid, I want to open a candy store. So when we got to the point where we were thinking about what we could do, we definitely looked at each other and went, we're not opening a candy store. What's the next best thing, right? So when we landed on ice cream, we got Hannah's approval, of course. She likes to decorate cakes and stuff.
Okay, that's fun.
So, right, so we have cakes. And so that was her original sort of role in it. But she was here every step of the way. She helped us strip. This was Bob's Diner. We tore it down and rebuilt it. Like, we didn't have any money. We couldn't get a loan. Bankers didn't understand what we were trying to do. They're like, you're going to work with people with disabilities. How are you going to make any money? Like, we're going to sell really good ice cream. That's how we're going to make money. So we did all the legwork ourselves. We got a scaffolding. I painted the ceiling, everything. And Hannah was here every step of the way. Now she's only here 1 or 2 days a week because she's living her own best life, you know.
That's awesome.
You know, it is, and that's what you want. And so what we discovered, though, with Hannah in high school, in those inclusion years, those transition years from 16 to 21, the only place we could find for Hannah to do food service training was at the IU at the waterfront, and we live in Robinson.
Not close.
Not close. And so myself or my husband would have to drive her a couple days a week out to the waterfront for a 3-hour shift where we would then, I don't know, go to Lowe's. What are you going to do for 3 hours?
3 hours.
But you're not going to drive back to the Squirrel Hill tunnels to turn around and go back.
Correct.
And so when we decided to do this, it was never not on our radar that we were going to provide for people in this area what didn't exist. And so as soon as we signed the lease, we called OVR. We had a big meeting here with OVR, with Montour, because that was Hannah's school district and they're right up the street, and said, how do we do this? But my idea for what I wanted to do didn't fit the mold of other programs already existing. And I was very lucky. First of all, in the post-COVID years, OVR had a little more in the resource department than they do now.
Sure.
So they gave me a lot of freedom to sort of explore how this will work. So now we are partly funded through OVR and partly funded through a grant through Bender Leadership Academy.
Okay.
Because OVR can only fund people for 6 weeks. So when we go through that OVR training period, those kids who obviously, like your Brady's, right, who really love it and still have so much that they can learn from it, we extend them. And some of those kids, we've hired 7 of those kids. And my big dream is, and I know I'm talking too much, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My big dream is we don't necessarily want to have multiple locations, right? But we want to be sustainable with enough chaos in this location to have kids that can work 3 or 4 days a week. Typically, a kid with a disability gets 1 or 2 days a week.
Right.
We'd like
For a multitude of reasons.
For a multitude of reasons, yes. But we'd like for people to have the freedom to have a 20-hour work week, you know, because some kids would really like to do that, and they should.
So I'm going to step back a little bit just for the benefit of our audience who doesn't know your daughter. So Hannah's how old now?
Hannah will be 27 in July.
27, and she has Down syndrome, is that
Downs,
correct?
Yep.
So she was supported throughout her school career.
Yeah.
But you approached that cliff that we all see
Right.
in graduating from school. Now what?
Exactly.
So when she wanted to do the candy store and you were going ice cream, part of this was she's approaching that cliff.
Right. We need a place for Hannah. Yeah.
And you recognize that in the other people when we talk about this community and that you don't have to travel an hour to get somewhere.
Right.
There are other folks in this community that are approaching that cliff after school and need something. So I think now take us to OVR, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. So as a business, and you are a for-profit business.
Correct.
Okay. So as a business, you partner with OVR, and the beginning of that, let's talk about that and what that looks like for folks.
They call it a CWI. It's a community work instruction block. Okay. And kids in transition get a certain number of CWI experiences to give them an idea what's next. So for example, Goodwill Industries, they have a huge program. And after kids graduate or hit that, graduation mark, before they take their diploma, there's usually a 2 or 3 year gap. Sometimes you're going to go to Goodwill, and what Goodwill does is they say, okay, we're going to do 6 weeks in this, we're going to sort clothes, 6 weeks organizing books, 6 weeks in the kitchen, and they sort of facilitate what we do for only one segment.
Okay.
So in a way, we're filling in that gap beforehand. So one of our girls who is actually 2 weeks away from graduating CCIC's culinary program came to us with the idea that she wanted to do culinary, but we gave her real-time experience to see if that was truly going to be a good fit for her, and it was. Some kids come here, they think they want, we have one kid, I love this kid so much, I'm going to be a baker, I'm going to be a baker. Okay, crack some eggs. Well, I don't want to crack the eggs. Well, I got bad news for you.
That's something a baker does, right? So, you mentioned Montour, but you're talking, when we say kids, you mean high school age students.
Right.
And they're probably in those transition years, 15 to 22.
Yeah, usually OVR won't take someone until they're at least 16.
Okay.
There's just a limited amount of time, and you want to make sure that, and also schools tend to have some decent programming right up until that junior, senior time where they really have to start laser focusing. So it's better for them to take advantage through their own school than it is to be farmed out.
Right.
Because there's transportation issues and all kinds of...
All the things, right?
All the things, right.
Yes.
I don't think, that's one thing I don't think parents are ever prepared for, is the amount of paperwork and minutia, right, that doesn't get smaller as kids get older.
Well, I think, you've lived it, and as a parent, I have lived it. I think we do get used to, there's a place that our kids go 5 days a week, essentially from 8 to 3. There's transportation back and forth, and there are trained people facilitating the activities during that time.
Right.
And then what?
And then what, yeah.
So, and then what? You're getting kids involved here before they're done with school. And as you said, laser focused. So you're not trying out 20 different jobs.
Right, we're just focusing on that. But what we do, we think, is a little different. Yes, you have to crack eggs because that is how you make a cookie. But in reality, I think what we do well is focus on the deficit that Hannah had and why traditional job training wasn't a good fit for her in the first place. And that is working in an environment with other people, being allowed to be who you are and have accommodations made for your skill set without sort of forcing the individual into some mold that they're never going to actually fit in. They're not built that way.
Right.
And so what we do is try and help kids have confidence. work with other people, problem solve. So maybe you get eggshells in every single time. Let's figure out how to fix it so that you don't get eggshells. It's not about the eggshells, right? It's about figuring out how you can progress to the next level of yourself to be able to accomplish the task you're trying to accomplish. And that's a skill that no matter where they go, they're going to use that.
Right.
And we talk pretty openly about disability in this space. And I have found, sadly, that many individuals who have disabilities don't feel comfortable saying it out loud. And, you know, when you look in the mirror every day, you are self-aware, right? You know if your hair looks bad, you know if you've got something in your teeth. Like, what makes anybody think that an individual with a disability doesn't look in the mirror and know who they are? Of course they do. But they're somehow told that they can't be that.
Right.
But here they can be that. And so I think it's just a little less intimidating, and it allows kids to step out of the boxes they've been put in a little bit. And the kids that are able to do that are the kids that really just, they just find something in themselves that makes them, you know, and then they become family to us, you know. Like, so maybe they're never going to be fast, right? But it doesn't mean that they're not doing their absolute best. And
right.
It doesn't mean that we can't find a way to use their skills to further the mission.
Well, and I think let's go to that. So the mission here, yeah, you make great ice cream and cookies and coffee, but your mission is about more than delivering that. Let's talk more about that mission. You know, we've talked a little bit about the program, but your mission is actually to deliver in that inclusive environment, in a setting that's comfortable, a place where people can come together and learn the skills. Right. So tell me a little bit about how you developed that.
Well, I guess you could say I started when Hannah was like 4 and said I need to learn how to make scrambled eggs. I mean, that you know, as a parent, right? You're doing all of those things. So for me, it's just an extension of that. I was a Girl Scout leader for 20 years. Like, it's just part of our DNA. And then when Deb started out as a customer.
Okay.
And over time, my youngest works at a day program in Smithfield and was our original trainer.
Okay.
Here before they got this full-time job. And Deb stepped up. And Deb, this is just like me, all heart. Like, we never took classes on the right way to do it. We just said, this is a human being who is struggling to do this thing. How are we going to help this person not struggle to do that thing? So I would say that our mission sort of has evolved over the last 4 years
Sure.
into being much less, no disrespect to OVR, I understand that when there's money involved, it's about numbers and you have to
Sure,
show
absolutely.
progression and all of that. I get that. But for me, it's never going to be about that because, like, I have one employee who's been here for 3 years, almost 4 years actually. It was the first person we hired. When they started here, they stayed in the kitchen, and if they didn't know what to do, it was deer in the headlights. Okay, it was just frozen. And then you'd be like, oh, I better go and fix that, right? Hit reset, whatever. Now that individual waits on customers, can make the coffee, comes in the morning at stupid o'clock with me and is like, you didn't bake any cookies yet. Like, fully embraces their job and, you know, is a trusted person. In any other typical program, they wouldn't get that far because the length of time it took to develop that comfort
Yes.
level was too long for most employers.
So let's talk about that length of time, and you have you bring in cohorts, but as you mentioned, OVR has to meet metrics. They
Right.
have goals, they have
Sure.
metrics, and there's funding there,
Right.
but for those things, and that's all good.
Right.
But to your point, that is probably not enough.
Right.
I know.
So for us, it's a springboard.
Okay.
Like, we consider them to be like a feeder for us. We get kids from local schools, and they get an opportunity to try something that they wouldn't otherwise try, and then they go on their way. A lot of those kids, truthfully, aren't from school districts that are nearby anyway.
Okay.
Most of the kids that we've hired here are within 15 minutes, which is
That's ideal for anybody at their job, right?
Exactly, right. I think Brady's probably the longest. He's probably 25 minutes,
right.
And Mary lives in Mount Lebanon. So I guess there are some exceptions. But as they become adults and figure out transportation and that stuff, access, whatever, that kind of resolves itself. But in that teen time, they're relying on the school district for that transportation anyway. So having kids, and I say kids because I'm old. I am well aware that they are adults, okay? I'm well aware. Hannah reminds me.
I know, our
on
kids
the daily,
are still our kids. I get it.
Forever. But I think that that from where I'm sitting, the kids that we've hired because we saw something in them that we knew that they could grow with us and be part of us. And however we expand, like we started a subscription box, I don't know if you know that. It's called
Yes.
Cookies That Care. And so it's every month it has our cookies, but it has things from other mission-driven businesses.
Sure.
It's super cute, super fun. My goal is build that box, because that box means kids are baking, kids are packing, kids are labeling,
They're doing the
they're
jobs.
doing the jobs and making the jobs, but making the jobs in a sustainable way.
Yes.
I want that core family. I want to be that business that in 15 years looks back and says, these are the people that have been here the whole time. Look at these people that have, built their,
And I guess you make that work by recognizing your feeder from OVR, and the funding that comes with that is going to be limited for what they do, right? But they need more than, is that a 6 week?
That's 6 weeks. So just to be clear, we as a store don't get any money.
No, I'm sorry. And
No. I just think it's important for people to
Yes.
understand how this program works. This program works, the students are paid. They get paid above minimum wage for a work experience in a workplace. So I provide the space for them to work. And there are places like me all over the city. What I get is free labor, which cracks me up because it is not. Believe me, I leave my kitchen for hours and hours at a time, and I stay here till stupid o'clock many nights making up for that. But it's worth it because that's the investment that I'm putting in. Like I feel like it's a dual investment, right?
Absolutely.
And that's my part of it, is to make sure that that is facilitated.
And I appreciate you pointing that out, because I think it is, when I mention funding, I think it's important for families to understand, while you as a business theoretically get free labor, and there's all the trade-offs that make it not free, the person that's learning the skills and doing the job is getting something by way of
Correct.
the OVR system.
Well, and from the very beginning, I've said this from the very beginning, many people said, why aren't you a 501? Because none of these individuals need your pity. This is not a charity. These kids taste our cookies, and you tell me why I should be a 501(c). They're doing real work, and they deserve real pay for real work, and you're going to enjoy the fruits of that real work. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that model. I think now I've got a whole bunch of awards. You should see my award shelf. I never used to say that, but then a customer came in and was like, "I'm building you an award shelf," because everyone should see those.
They should know the work that you do.
But it's because we're considered a social entrepreneurship, which I never even heard that term until I got an award for it. I can't even spell entrepreneurship. But basically it means you're doing the work of a nonprofit, but you're a for-profit business. And that, I believe, in my core, is going to be the thrust forward for the disability community. I think that as times change across all businesses, it's going to be, as it has always been in the disability community, families like mine stepping up and saying, I have to make a difference because the difference has to be made.
Absolutely.
So I'm not any kind of a pioneer. There's thousands of people behind me who've done exactly the same thing in a different setting. I just make great cookies. I don't think of, I know we're special because I'm kind of fantastic, but I don't feel like we did anything extraordinary. I feel like we just did what needed to be done.
What needed to be done. And I really wish that we had smell-o-vision for our audience because it smells delicious in here. So let me take it back. So the programming through OVR, and then because you know that's not enough and it takes longer to learn a job and learn the skills and see if this is right for you, then you partner with vendor leadership.
Right.
So how does that partnership work?
So
for
you
the folks
have
that
to
are
partner
training?
with a nonprofit or with a service provider, someone who manages the book side of it.
Sure.
Because if I were to do that, that would be a direct conflict of interest.
Okay.
And so obviously, you have to have a middle
Right.
provider.
Somebody else, a third party.
So we interviewed a couple of different agencies, and I don't know what it was about them, but I just felt a kindredness with them, and I knew that they were going to be a good fit for us. So when the COVID money dried up and we went from 13-week cohorts to 6-week cohorts, we said, this is not, I mean, even if we have to part ways with OVR, this is not the program we want. We want this specific environment, and we can't create that in 6 weeks.
Okay.
So vendor leadership stepped up and said, listen, we can apply for a grant, and we can do a continuation. So on a case-by-case basis, at the end of those 6 weeks, we decide who stays. And full disclosure, almost everyone, unless they don't want to, can benefit from the second half. And then we can continue them until either it's time for them to explore something completely different, or until we hire them. Like I said, we've hired 7 kids, and I'll hire as many as I can. I just wish I could hire, I wish I could hire every single kid, but we'll just keep doing that until we have to get a much bigger place, because we don't have any place to put anybody.
Fair, yeah. We may expand, but.
Well, there's a place 3 doors down, and it's an old gym, and it's been vacant for a long time, and I've had my eye on it for like 3 years, and I am just waiting for the universe to burst that door open, and I will be the first one running through it when it does.
That would be awesome.
So if anybody out there has $1 million, just saying.
Well, you never know. Like,
That's
vendor
true.
came through with the grant for this cohort. So how many people are involved in a cohort?
So typically we do 4 kids at a time
Okay.
for 2 days a week for 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So when it's on the OVR side, it's 8 hours. But when it's on the vendor side, we can go longer, because
You have
our restrictions
flexibility.
are different.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And our metrics are different. And we work differently with the schools at that point too. We say,
Okay.
look, here's the sort of activities we do, but here's what we're seeing in these people that we think we can help
Sure.
to develop. And the schools, the people in the transition programs of the schools are tremendous, because they love those kids. They've had those kids as, they've watched them grow up.
Sure.
They want to see, everybody wants to see these kids succeed, every single one of them.
And you've been here for 4 years,
4
right?
years, yeah.
So you've sustained for 4 years.
Yeah.
The program you're following is working. The product is good.
We could definitely sell more ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
Well, maybe if we
Just
get
putting
to
out the
expand,
plug, yeah.
down the way. But I would say, you've made it this long. You have no intention of letting it go. You want
No.
to expand.
We feel very much that the mission has always been solid, but we also knew in the very beginning there was absolutely no point in doing any of this if we didn't have the very best product possible. Because you can get somebody to come in the door because you're a do-gooder, but you're not getting them to come back unless they go, oh my God, what is in this peanut butter?
Right.
Right? And that's a whole different thing.
It is.
And then we have a lot of people who show up and they're like, I've never been here before, but I hear the ice cream is good. And then they find out about the mission, and then they go, oh my gosh. And we love that. We prefer that.
Yes,
We're an
absolutely.
ice cream store.
Yes.
That's the way it's supposed to be. What we'd like to see truly in the world is people coming in and seeing our kids who are working and doing the job and go, oh, well, yeah, that's the kid that waited on me. And that's it. That's where it ends. Because it's just a kid who gave me an ice cream cone. That's the goal.
Or made my delicious
Or
coffee,
made my
or
coffee, right.
whatever it is.
Right.
Yes.
Because nobody needs to be pitied,
No.
But
Respect.
respect. Thank you.
Yes. So you've developed a mission, came out of a personal point, but you look to how many people you've been able to deliver the experience, both as an employee or potential employee, as well as a community member coming in as a patron. With everything you've developed, what would you say to other business owners to support disability inclusion in their business?
I would say, first of all, it's not hard. it seems intimidating, right? When you hear the word, because everyone uses buzzwords, you hear the word accommodation and you're like, well, I don't know what that means. Well, it means something different for each person. And all I would say to someone in a business is start with one person. There's certainly going to be one person, you know? Okay, first, I'm sorry, because you know I'm going to just spiral around.
That's okay, please do.
When I first started, I was very hard-nosed, and I was like, I refuse to say that everyone has to learn to do the dishes because that's going to be relegated to doing the dishes. Guess what? It turns out that I have some employees who prefer to just do dishes. That's the thing, that gives them zen. They come in and they kill. Things sparkle. Guess what? Those people should be doing dishes.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You know, my mindset has changed a lot over the last 4 years. Like my understanding of what meaningful employment is has changed. And in that vortex of skills, we had one kid, and I can say his name. I can say Lionel because he knows I'm super proud of him. He just got hired at Mercy Hospital in their kitchen, and we're just thrilled beyond words for him. He came to us, he graduated high school, he could not read. And this happens to a lot of kids. There's just gaps, and it happens. And he was pretty upfront about it. And so we changed some things we do here, thanks to Lionel. Like the way we write our recipes is specifically because of Lionel. Then they're all exactly the same, so that he would know what, you know, flour and flour, like he could match them.
Okay.
And that was because he couldn't read. So he gained some sight words, but anyway, I digressed. One day, Lionel looked at me decorating a cake and said, someday I would like to try that. So I put a piping bag in this kid's hand, and this kid was a flippin' savant. This kid
Wow.
can do a cake. Look on my Facebook page sometime and look at some of the stuff that this kid could do. He would have never known that.
If he didn't have the opportunity.
If he didn't have the opportunity. And now, and he says his big regret is that he's not here, you know. And we're like, you know what? You know, come in whenever you want.
Right.
You know, we're always going to be thrilled to see you. But he actually, you know, he's progressed to do something terrific that he loves with people who accept him for who he is. And we played a small part of that, and that means everything.
And that accommodation for him, did you have to use pictures? Or?
So we did some picture stuff.
Okay.
We have like some symbols that we use for things. We sat down, we actually tried to find a reading tutor for him. We tutored him for a while. The program, he joined Project Search.
Okay.
Project Search did find a reading tutor for him.
Nice.
He's doing beautifully. His accommodations were basically listen to what he needs and figure out how to make that work for him. Because he didn't have an issue with measuring flour, he had an issue with figuring out which word said flour, you know? So our font on our flour container matches the font on the recipe, you know, like just stupid little things that really weren't difficult. There's
Right.
not a lot of difficulty.
No,
you know?
it's thought.
It's thought. And I think the other thing I would tell an employer is, you have someone in your store already or in your place already who is empathetic, who is compassionate, and who already has a bent towards being a mentor, a friend, whatever. Find those people. Pair those people up. You know, it may take some period of time for someone to learn these are the 5 things I have to do every morning. But guess what? It's just like riding a bike, right? Once you learn how to do it, they're not going to go home and then come back tomorrow and not know how to do it. They're still going to know how to do it.
Sure.
And they're going to build on that. And the other thing is that, and I know you know this because you've studied all the things statistical, business statistics show that inclusive workplaces have higher retention rates, have more workplace satisfaction, and have better productivity. Why? Because everyone benefits from inclusion. Everyone benefits from the pace change. Everyone benefits from the personality. And I'll tell you one more thing. This is between us and you two. I've worked with a lot of people from 62 and a half years old. I've worked with a lot of people who have come into work every day and be like, I can't believe I have to do this today. Do you know what never happens here? That never happens here. People come in and they're like, oh, the bus ride was terrible. What are we making today? Like immediate change.
Right.
And that's the difference between working with an inclusive population and working with people who are too in their own heads. Get out of your head. Just find one person.
Well, and I think if we get people to pay attention and consider that, they'll find that one person and just start with one and they'll learn. It's not as difficult as they think it is, and you'll get employees that enjoy coming to work and do a good job.
Right, they do a good job. And they show up.
Yes.
And they feel guilty. Oh my gosh, I had one kid get sick and send me a text message, and my dad says I'm not allowed to come in today.
Big meanie.
This kid would have dragged himself in here bleeding, you know? So, yeah.
Well, I thank you for sharing all of that because I think that you're a hidden gem and we want to make sure you're not so hidden anymore. And knowing how your cohorts work, there are folks out there that maybe after they see this will realize, I think I know somebody that would like to learn about the ice cream business and maybe they're a good fit to make cookies.
Sure.
But you have to find where that is, and it may not be where you've been looking. So we'll shine a little light to get folks to look here.
Well, we've had a lot of people, I've spoken at a couple of conferences, and I've had a lot of people approach me afterwards and say, listen, I don't really want to do cookies and ice cream, but I was thinking maybe a coffee shop, or I was thinking maybe, those people call me, I will tell them every shred of information I have to do it, you know? And it's not just for people who already have businesses. You know, if you're sitting on the fence and you want to do this for your kids, look at the people who came before us. Look at John's Crazy Socks. This kid wanted to sell socks, and they are a multi-million-dollar company.
They
now,
are.
You know?
And have cool socks.
And they have great socks. In fact, they're going to be in our subscription box, and we're getting special socks from them. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be very fun.
So the subscription box, you have partners with other businesses that also have inclusive work environments?
Not entirely.
Okay.
Basically, I believe as an individual person that your job on the planet is to make the world better in some way. And so I look for businesses that have that as their mission, whether it's I want to produce clean products so people can have healthier, you know, or I want to preserve my grandfather's recipe for whatever, or I want to help the homeless, or I support, it doesn't matter. If you're a small business with a mission that has a shippable product that no one is going to find out about because you live in some small town in Tennessee, and I found out about you, I'm going to help people find out about you. So every month it's our cookies and 3 or 4 other things. There's always mostly food because I like the food, and then there's always one fun find. You know, one little kitschy thing or whatever, and it's always a QR code that directs you back to them. So I've had a lot of people, business people, I love business people. Well, why don't you just sell all that stuff? You just buy it and you just sell it. You just sell it. Like, because I don't want to sell their product. I want them to be able to also thrive. So if you like this soda, you can now buy this soda directly from that soda company, and now they have a new customer, and so forth. So I feel like it kind of rounds out the rest of our mission, right? Is that being an inclusive environment means including everyone. Everyone. To the best of our ability. Plus, I get to sample the best snacks.
That's not a bad gig,
It's
right?
a good gig. Best job I ever had.
Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with me and sharing all of this, including the delicious product. And I'm anxious to learn more about what you do and who you're serving here, and then get some more people to come over here.
Get them all.
We will. That's our goal. Connie, thank you very much.
You bet. Have a great day.
All right, and now joining me is Debbie Hijack. So, Debbie, I understand you came to Cookie Ice Cream as a customer first.
Yes, I did. They have the best coffee around. And when I found that out, I started coming every single day.
Okay, all right, that's a testament right there to the product, that you came every day. So when you started coming to Cookie Ice Cream as a customer, did you know anything more about them other than they're a coffee shop that has good coffee?
No, I really didn't. I learned as I was coming in, and you know, becoming friends with Connie and watching what she does with kids and the different programs, and that's how I found out what their mission and everything is here.
So you started just getting good coffee and then took a look around and saw how things were happening.
Right.
So obviously we're talking because you do a little more than drink coffee these days. Tell me a little bit about how that evolved from a customer drinking coffee to being part of delivering the mission.
Well, Connie asked me as they were getting busier in the summer, would I come in and you know, pretty much play with her and bake cookies. So I started actually just working for them, making cookies, helping customers and things like that. And the kids were here, so I just automatically started working with the kids, just, you know, because that's something I do.
Do you have any background working with anyone with a disability?
I do not, but I have 32 years of teaching Sunday school at my church.
Okay.
And different, you know, kids come in and, you know.
So it was that mom and teacher in you
Yes.
that was kind of like helping over
Right.
here, nurturing over there.
Right.
I guess I would ask, what do you think, in your opinion, that you've learned in working with the kids that are here as part of these cohorts?
Oh, I've learned so much from these kids. I actually have learned quite a bit of patience because, you know, it's different. You know, it's having to stand back and watch. You know, teach them how and then watch. So I've learned quite a bit about that. The kids are, I don't know. I don't know what to say. The kids are just wonderful. You know. Learning how each one are different, but they're all the same too. You know?
True, right.
So,
same as everyone else.
same as everyone.
So from coffee drinker to cookie baker, what's your title today?
Today, I don't know. I think I'm just jack of all trades here.
And I get that. Like so many places, that's really how, especially small businesses, survive. You have to know a little bit of everything to kind of help wherever it's needed.
Right.
So when I came in today, you were already here, Brady was here. Give me an idea, are you working one-on-one with like Brady or one of the employees, or are you general support for everyone? How does that work on a daily basis?
Normally I'm here, I have cohorts that are through Bender or OVR, okay? And I might have 2 kids at a time, and I'd be working with those 2 kids all day long. Today I came in especially, you know, to be with Brady. So today's more one-on-one. So I do both.
Okay.
You know, it depends on what's going on. And then if Connie's busy and say she's working with Brady, I'll cover the front or do whatever it takes to keep things rolling in the store too. But today is basically I've been working with Brady.
And I mentioned Brady with Connie. I know I've known Brady for years, and I know he loves working here. So he'll find himself a superstar when we put this out.
Yeah.
But when we talk about working with Brady or any of his colleagues, are you trainer, supervisor, manager? What does that, like, you mentioned the cohorts. Does it start in one role and then evolve over the period of time they're here?
They're usually, normally our cohorts are 6 weeks at a time. So the kids come in and I'm basically their trainer. You know, I usually just start with the basics and then they learn everything in the store. Okay, we teach them everything from cleaning to mixing dough to measuring to baking to, as you see, Brady today was, you know, icing pastries. Okay, so my role here is just to get them acclimated to the store, learn skills they can take somewhere else, or, you know, some kids we've hired here.
So when you're working with these, they come in as students, I guess, and when we're starting on that, how is it that you've developed a way to teach a skill with no background in this area, but as a teacher, I'm sure you figure out, okay, maybe somebody thinks differently. How is it that you're trying to accomplish getting the pastries iced, but all the steps that come before that, how does that work in this arena?
Really, we just show them how to do it. You know,
Okay.
we teach them how to do it from different steps, and different kids have different ways of learning. So there's some kids we had that couldn't read, so we color-coded things for him. Some of the kids were getting things a little bit mixed up in setup, so we found a way to have the setup, you know, I don't know what you want to say.
It sounds like maybe you're breaking down
We're
a
breaking
process.
breaking down the processes so that they understand it.
Okay.
Some of the processes that we put in place, everyone's using now, you know, so, but it all depends on the kids and depends on what we're doing in the cohort, you know.
I like, though, that everyone's using it. You've
Yeah.
established a universal design
Yes.
that works for everyone.
Yes.
Why not use it?
Right.
Are some of those things that you would, if you were talking to another business owner, are some of those things that you would say are transferable? You talked about if some of the kids go elsewhere then, the processes by which you break it down, or you mentioned using the colors. How would you talk to other businesses about taking that from here and implementing it somewhere else?
I think that they would have to, we would talk to them about, you know, why we did it and maybe show them why we did it. It's something that, you know, just works. Every kid is different, so it just depends on where we're going, you know, where the kid is going, or, you know, I don't.
I guess you know, in these cohorts, you probably see some people that may want to stay here for a long time.
Right, they do.
And other people that are just learning what you're teaching, and now they're learning, perhaps breaking down a process or something like that they're going to take somewhere else. How many kids do you think have gone through these cohorts in the years?
Oh my. I usually get 4 kids at a time every 6 weeks. And I've
that's
been doing it
during the school year,
during
right?
the school year. And then we're going to have a summer cohort as far as I know, and that'll probably be 2 or 3 kids, you know, for 6 weeks. We do take usually a month in between each cohort. They don't usually run back to back.
Okay.
Unless we have the same kids coming back for some reason. So I would say, gosh, I think Connie said we've hired 8 kids, but we've had probably, it's 4 times a year and 4 kids.
So it's, yeah,
You know, that's what, 16
16 per year.
per year.
And you've been doing this for
like 4 years.
4
now.
years. Okay. So you've had quite
quite
a
a
number
few.
of people come through, over 60 students come
Yeah.
through your program.
Just through mine. Then we have the schools, you know, with Lynn here with her kids, and, you know, different things running all the time.
So, and that is, the school sends a student and a
And a
para?
coach.
Okay. And they are learning to do a job.
They're learning to do everything the same, you know. A lot of times they're back in the kitchen, but they learn to do everything as well.
And I would imagine a lot of folks that never owned a business don't really understand what everything is.
No, they don't.
Everything
Everything's from soup to nuts. I
Yes.
mean, you know, cleaning bathrooms to washing windows and tables to doing the floor, and then all the different customer service aspects. And the kids love waiting on the customers. They just love it, and the customers love when the kids do. And you know, and then we have all the kitchen duties. You know, and it's funny because a lot of kids, they'll say, "I want to do that." They choose the things they really like to do, and it's, you know, kind of heartwarming to see that.
So, with all the kids that have come through the doors and all your background in all of this, is there someone that stands out, whether they are still here or they've transferred elsewhere, that this would be a real success story? That
We have quite a few. We've got some that have gone on. They're working in the bakery in Giant Eagle. We've got some that have gone and they're working in, you know, as a line chef or a line cook in Wendy's, or, you know, different kids have gone to different places. And you know, they know what it's like to have a job. They come in and they clock in and they follow policies, and you know, we go over work-related topics all the time so that they know when they're out in the world, here's how it works, you know. And they have to follow. They have to call off. If they're going to call off, they've got to call me. They have to do the things that you would normally do at any job.
Right. So this isn't something
No.
special.
Right.
You're employed and you have the responsibilities of employment.
Right.
I like to hear that there are those successes where they're out working different jobs, because you know, not everybody can work at the fun ice cream and cookie
Right.
store, right? And I think with all of the people that have come through your doors and all the lives that you've touched, it's got to feel good knowing that when you go into Giant Eagle, you know there's somebody
Yeah.
there that's been...
It's fun to run into them, yeah. And then when the kids come in, you know, they're done with their cohort here and they'll come back in just to come and see us. It's just a lot of fun to see them, find out what they're doing.
When somebody does go elsewhere for their employment, I don't want to say how much of it is, but in consideration that some of it is the individual has learned the things you talked about, what it's like to have a job and be responsible and work. But the other side of it, how much of it is the employer understands working with someone with a disability?
It depends on where it is, because, you know, we've come across some, you know, where the companies want to do it and they want to understand and they want to help, but then you come across some managers that don't understand it and they kind of need trained right along with the kid, you know.
So who does that? Is that you?
Here I don't have to do it
Okay.
because, you know, it's Connie, but we have some other trainers in some other places that have to let the manager know, here's what we do, why we do it, and things like that.
Do you find that when that information is shared that employers are open to it?
Usually once they understand it, they are open to it. You
That's
know?
always the biggest
Yeah.
thing. So I'll kind of wind it all up. Tell me, what is the most rewarding thing you've gotten out of being at Cookie Ice Cream?
Oh my gosh, I just love the kids. The most rewarding thing is just knowing each and every one of them, and when they come in and they yell from the door, Miss Debbie, you know, it's a lot of fun.
That's it. That's the be all and end all right there when they're looking forward to being with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you for sharing that with me. I think your role here is very critical, and I love that it came from customer to cookie baker to trainer, and so many people are impacted by what you're doing with them. So thank you for doing it and for sharing it with me.
Thank you.